surprising too, considering how close they are to the west side. But anywho,
if TBK was over like a couple miles west of where it was, they probably
if
wouldn't have
if
had
it
a
wa-
lot of students there.
you said if it was a couple miles west, what would happen?
Of where it is, they probably would have had a couple shootings over there by
Like
now.
on Damon or something like that, just a mile really, because
Yeah,
TV about a mile and a half, because it's just right off of Halsted. So yeah, just about maybe like a mile and a half down. Yeah, it'd have been popping off.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I ain't get enough of that red sauce food.
No, it's funny you bring it up. Nura's got a friend here who works at Del Taco, and she hooked us up with a gift card. So we went. I went there the other day, and I was like, "This is just like Taco Bell. I was like, how do y'all stay in business with the exact same business model as Taco Bell?" But like California, like man, if I had some money, that's what I'd be investing in, like fast food restaurants. I can't invest in anything, unfortunately, that where you make the money at. Where you make money at is vice. So the next thing is like fast food. Like of course weed,
Yeah.
weed ain't vice no more. But weed,
No.
alcohol, strip clubs, I can't invest in any of that. So but like to be told, the most expensive amount is the fast food restaurant. Like all of them is expensive.
Well, did you see they was waiting for 12 hours they opened In and Out in Colorado. They was waiting for 12 hours outside of that.
That shit's over. Like I used to be a In and Out fiend. I ain't an In and Out fiend anymore. The thing that I wish that if we had in Chicago, that probably would have changed my life is El Pollo Loco.
That's I've heard of that.
El Pollo Loco is fire. Nura had was before I put on El Pollo Loco, and don't ask me how I put it on something that's been out here for 40 something years. But anyway, like she was asking me to go to Taco Bell, and I was like, this shit is nasty. I tried to give my Taco Bell away to a homeless dude. He said I'll pass. So I try to so I put on El Pollo Loco, man. That stuff it's addictive.
Is it like a regular chicken place, or how do they do
it's a Mexican? I mean, it's a Mexican restaurant that's all chicken products. So you get tacos.
So yeah, everything got chicken in it.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
It's sort of like it's sort of like the Hermano's place in Breaking Bad.
Something like that. Yeah, that's probably something like that. Yeah, those whatever. Yeah, Hermano's chicken, whatever. Yeah, it's like but the service is good. It's filling. They use real chicken. And then they got like one of those. They have actually like they have coupons and stuff that you actually use. Like most of the times when they like send in the mailers when they be sending like coupons for other fast food restaurants, I throw them stuff in the trash. Like El Pollo Loco is one of the few places where I actually have their app and I'll use their anytime they have coupons and discounts and stuff. And they were a lot more prevalent during the summer. It slowed down, where I actually utilize them. And they have like a what is it called, a subscriber thing where you spend $50, you get 5. So yeah, I take advantage of that. But like Taco Bell, but like Del Taco is the exact same thing as Taco Bell, but then they sell burgers and fries. That's the only distinguishing factor. I'm like,
I think I had it one time. I think it's a little better than Taco Bell.
Not what I had yesterday. I was like, it was exactly the same. And I was like, it would have been like I told her it would have been good to have like a friend like her name is Muna. I was like, it would have been good to have a friend like Muna, like in maybe like 10 years ago. Maybe I would say 10 years ago, maybe even like 5 years ago and back. But it's just like now, I don't know, can't do it. Her friend's interesting too. I told her, I made a joke. I said the only thing that was missing from like this meal is like a blunt. And she said one day she said in the past she worked a party for Snoop Dogg, and they like instead of having like the hors d'oeuvre trays having food on it, they had like weed on it, a blunt. Yeah, at some party out here. So yeah.
Yeah. See, if you be out there long enough, you'll probably be at a weed tray party.
A weed tray party, yeah. Nah, I want, but like I said, I want to fit. I got to make enough money for me to invest in some fast food restaurants because these boys stay the
You
lines
you
stay.
sound like a California now though, talking about In and Out. I see. Only time I've had In and Out was when I went out there with you, and I loved it.
Yeah, so the burgers is decent. Fries is not good. But like I said, it's not something. I guess California has good has some other fast food options. It's so many fast food places out here. And then I didn't tell you, Glenn came out here last week
Yeah,
for Layla.
you mentioned. I don't think you mentioned it on here, but yeah.
Yeah, so he was shocked that like, a lot of the restaurants that were defunct decades ago in Chicago still exist here.
Hey, like Jack in the Box.
Jack in the Box, Sizzler, just
Yeah,
I think Ponderosa, like places that's
yeah,
been
Father Rose.
defunct for a long ass time in Chicago, and everywhere else in the country. For whatever reason, they still thrive here, and it's probably just because the population is so large.
Yeah, still, it's still so many people out there.
Yeah, so many people out here, and it's just like these restaurants wouldn't have they would have died off a long time ago. And I mean, but with COVID, they probably ain't operating anyway. The only
Yeah.
way you're going function and operate now is if you got a drive through.
And
I'm
we
in
gonna get
Texas.
into that in a little bit with our guests.
Yeah.
Teddy Gilmore is a restaurateur and a promoter, well, pretty much a legend, man, in promoting and marketing here in Chicago. And he just opened a new restaurant called Nipsey's. He's bringing to life essentially the spot for Martin.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but
Where was it? Is that where BJ's used to be? BJ's
BJ's
Market,
on now.
Stony.
BJ's is on Stone.
But I thought his restaurant's on Stony. Wait, unless
No,
I'm
it's
reading
on
it.
a cottage.
Oh, mate. Oh, okay. Well, I thought I saw Stony in the thing. Let me see. Maybe I had it wrong. Well,
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
anyway.
I
Hell,
haven't been there yet, so I'm pretty sure it's cottage.
it says now I'm going through the contact information on the site. All right. It says no 9156 Stony. Unless that's his house.
Oh, okay. Well,
But no, 9156. I'm trying to think. Is
I'm
that
mistaken there. No, that's still not BJ's though.
Oh, okay. No, that's not BJ's. I
Yeah,
wouldn't. Yeah, I wouldn't. I was trying to remember.
yeah,
Yeah, it's close. It's close though.
yeah. BJ's closer to 87.
Well, yeah, somewhere in there, 80,
Yeah.
87th, 89th, one of them joints. Yeah, nah. So yeah, that's interesting because they just lost they just lost they just lost Kenwood over there.
Yeah. Kenwood Liquors.
They just lost
I mean,
Kenwood.
it's just like for me, that's one of the reasons why I want to have them on, just like to talk about not only managing a place in this time, but opening a place. Like that's pretty bold, you know.
Yeah. Well, you know who'd have been probably a good person to have him on, like to juxtapose and maybe just kind of because she lives around there, and that's LaDonna. I haven't seen her online lately, but LaDonna lives around there.
Okay.
Diary of Dope Chick lives around there.
But yeah,
So,
I've reached out to her. We'll probably get her on soon. But
that would be good. Yeah.
why you say juxtaposed to Ted?
Well, I mean, it's just because. It's still in that kind. Even if it's on, it's what is it on What and Stony? I mean, What and Cottage. Correction, What and Cottage is the or.
Oh, you talking about the spot? I didn't know what she was in. What was her involved? I heard her talking about this other spot, but
Well, I just know she live around there. That's why.
Oh, she lives. Yeah, she lives around it there. But I've heard her talk about being down that way. That's what you're talking about.
Yeah, just to
Okay.
maybe come on and because I know she talks about like that pocket or whatnot.
Well, I don't know if she would have been good to have her on because I think I kind of I don't know if he can hear us right now, but she was kind of I kind of heard her saying some dissing Nipsey's a little bit. She was mentioning some other spot that's on. That's what I mixed up. The spot that LaDonna's talking about is on Cottage.
Oh,
it's
okay.
Some jerk spot.
That's okay. Got it.
And she's like, I don't know, for some reason she's sort of playing. I don't know if it's her friend or something, but they have a new spot and they're sort of playing against Nipsey's because Nipsey's opened like a week or two before. and it had a lot of porn.
Oh, okay, gotta get it.
I mean,
I didn't know she was opening a restaurant. The last time I talked to her and Will, which is a long time ago now, but like they were talking about opening a nightclub or something. Or like
yeah, that was yeah, they talked to me about that too. That's what I'm saying. I don't know what her role. I think with this restaurant, she's just helping a friend out promoting the restaurant. So I don't think she's part owner or nothing.
Got it. Yeah, no, okay. That makes sense. Yeah, no, man, it's good to have local owners on to see what their what their take is. No.
Yeah.
And when we're talking about the restaurants, the Chicago Be Like dude who just came to my mind. What's you know who I'm talking about? I can't think of his name.
The homie make the video.
Yeah, because his co-signer the jerk restaurant on 67th Street. Like he always goes to that one.
Jerk 48. Yeah.
Jerk that one or that one on the west side. You always see him doing a plug for them on there.
Yeah. God. I know. I don't know why I'm blanking on that, but it's Black Chicago Be Like,
Black Chicago Be Like,
yeah. You know those videos. You know what we're talking about.
Yeah, he always plugging Jerk 48. So that's when you mentioned the
Jerk 48 decent though. I've been.
Yeah, I haven't been there yet. It looks good. I haven't been there.
They take a while. They take cool with jerk places, but they take even longer than the regular jerk places. But it's good though.
Oh, okay. Have to remember that. Oh, you can bring him on?
Huh?
I thought you was bringing my man's on.
Yeah, I still wanted to. Not yet. In a few minutes.
Okay. Oh.
Lead things first that we was gonna talk about, but I think we could talk about the Chappelle stuff with Ted because I saw that he watched the video on IG.
Got it. Yeah.
I want to get into the Grammy stuff, and because I know originally I wanted to talk about music through the lens of an album that I know me and you both agree on its overratedness, and that was a dark twisted fantasy, Kanye's joint.
It's funny you bring that up.
What did you say?
No, it's funny you bring him up. I just saw one of Helen's post about the album before him loving the album before that, which I thought was all right.
Well, yeah, a lot of people have been talking about it because excuse me, I'm just trying to work on some stuff here. Okay. Excuse me, but a lot of people been like over the weekend or something, and did you see that tweet that I sent you on the email?
The one about Gibbs, or what was the other one?
No. This is a couple days ago. I'll put it up.
And the one about Gibbs, you gotta explain because I'm
basically refuting.
And one.
Now we'll talk about that in a minute, but
okay, that's fine.
We'll talk about that when we get to to the nominations. But this is what I want to. This is initially before because I didn't even realize that the Grammy nominations were coming out today or even any time before this show. But this was what I originally wanted to talk about music wise. This was a few days ago or a couple days ago. And it's interesting. The person who tweeted this is like the music director for Adult Swim, which low key has done a lot of great hip hop releases in the past 10 years as well.
Yeah. No, I went
Yeah,
back when I was in. Yeah, I always hear the music they play in the background. Some good stuff.
right. Yeah, but I think there's a lot of credence to this statement, and to that degree, he says he likes or loves. But he said MBDTF is still pretty great, and you see Andrew Barber Facial Drive sort of co-signs. He said he liked the Puffy album too. I never listened to that Last Train to Paris, but he says the most influential albums of the past 10 years is Marsburg, Rock Marciano, and well, no, he didn't. Let me turn that back. He didn't say they were the most influential albums for the past year. He said they were the most influential albums that came from 2010. Yeah, from that year, which is the same year, of course, that Kanye's album came out. And this is the thing. Like I said, everybody has said how much it's the greatest album of the 21st century and all this and that. And it really hasn't influenced much, which again it brings us back to this statement. It's an album that sort of sits on its own, and it has its own thing, and most people hype it up to no end. But I think when you look at these two albums and you think about a lot of the hip hop that up to today is being talked about and distributed, when you look, you can make lines from one, you can make lines from what rock has done and continues to do up to Freddie Gibbs. And you can, of course, we talk about Waka Flocka. You talking about everything that's going on in Atlanta right now, sort of touched through what he did, what he was doing with Gucci and everything, and then back then. And, that sort of merged with what's been going on here in Chicago with a lot of the kids and stuff. And, I think it's a good statement.
I don't know. Like I said, you're always a deeper thinker than me when it comes to this. And I mean,
just observing.
I can see. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I can glean how much I can glean from the Waka Flocka thing. And I mean, rocks. I understand the rock statement about him. I don't really understand the. Waka Flocka Flame, statement.
But
the thing, I remember following Atlanta. Yeah.
All that comes from him.
Oh, okay.
All the Griseldas and all them.
Well, no, I understand about rock. I mean,
I'm just stating it. If for our audience,
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah. But I haven't been, to be honest, I haven't been following the Atlanta thing as much. So I definitely couldn't make parallels between Waka Flocka Flame.
It's sort of like what you have dealing with at work. It's something that you necessarily can't avoid completely if you're in the hip hop, and I also too, I think there's a lot of it that we got this past week with the Gucci, Jeezy battle and stuff. It was like the Civil War in a lot of social media, and people took that so seriously. But it's like the Douglas Lincoln debates or something, for niggas.
Oh, okay. Oh man, I don't know. I'm old now, so I mean, what was I gonna say? What I listened to recently, that something that struck a chord with me was the Anderson .Paak album, and I'm probably late. I'm sure I'm late on that. And I just listened to the one
Ventura?
track, and not Ventura, the one where he's talking about protest, and I found that by accident.
Lockdown.
Yeah, Lockdown. I listened to Lockdown recently. Yeah. I was like, oh, that's pretty good.
That got nominated to
So that's pretty good. But But the young boys out of Atlanta or home, I don't really no, I don't really listen to it. I mean,
I
I
know,
don't.
I know, yeah, I know that's been the case for you, Dave, for a
It
while,
just
but I just, yeah, it's sort of like people like that, like say like that, and people who you come across online who are more into those things, or at least on on an observant level, on a sociological level, if not a straight out fan level. It's hard. It's just the type of stuff you think about because I know, like, me and you, we've had conversations to this degree for throughout our whole history as friends, pretty much. And I think for me, like, I guess you could say it is maybe thinking deeper in some way, but I do just have wanting to understand or grasp certain things in a way where, it's even the stuff that is unfortunate in some way, you know. But because even that stuff, because it is sort of, it does spring from something. If it springs from somewhere natural or somewhere that is, even if it's a bad sort of naturalistic thing to it, I can I can understand where it comes from, and it makes it more, it just makes it better to understand. And you got to have knowledge of this stuff, because whether you want to avoid it or contextualize it, it helps to make it more, like I say, more understandable.
well, so I'll say it like this. So like, when we had last week when we had Brian Shodorf, and he was saying he was
Yeah,
doing essentially he walked through, Trump, I guess interaction with Trump supporters and things like that to understand the mindset. Like I get that
right.
because I understand the importance of it because that person is the president. Outside of, well, some relatively wealthy black guys who made their money through rap. I don't really understand what the social value is in, following a lot of these or understanding the mindset of these dudes that put these guys on the pedestals. It's not even them as artists per se, but necessarily like the buzz around them. I don't understand, why, the necessity of why getting into the mind of dudes on Twitter. It seems like it's a black hole, and you can correct me, but it seems like it's a black hole sometimes. Trying to understand why these dudes think like, or even some of like some of kind of the debates and things like that. It's like I think the person who kind of, I guess, who I kind of was able to understand it, maybe it's because they are our age, is more. Why am I drawing a blank on this man's name right now? But he did when he one of our guys, he did a podcast. He's based in Maryland. Why am I drawing a blank on his name? Uh, and it's and he
He's an
essentially,
artist or a writer.
no, he's a writer. I mean, he's a writer. And I see his face. I don't know. I'm drawing a blank of his name. And I listened to his podcast
Are you
about,
talking about are you talking about the one of the very smart brothers?
no, not VSB. It's why am I drawing a
Okay.
blank on that man's name right now? You good, bro, was the name of the podcast.
Oh, J.R. Bang. Oh, you okay?
JR
J.R.
man,
Bang.
yeah. JR and his yeah, sorry, JR and his guy on the show, they I guess they were discussing, a few weeks ago leading up to the versus battle between Jeezy and Gucci, and they were talking about their favorite hits from both. And no, no, correction. That wasn't even Jeezy and Gucci. That was actually Jeezy and Ti. So this is a moot point. Well, the point is, they were able to articulate.
Yeah, that's what originally what it was gonna be. Yeah.
Right. That's and but they were able to like articulate well why they felt like the certain songs were going to be what was going to win the battle for each of the respective artists. And I can understand those kind of debates. Um, but like just Twitter shots and back debates and back and forth. It's a little bit hard for me to follow sometimes. Um, but yeah.
But yeah, I think when you talk about these things with people who are smart, it's easier to talk about them. Like most people are just staying out in situations like that, and with it's part of why I don't mess with the versus stuff as hard as I did back when they did like RZA and Premier. Like,
Yeah, I
so
remember
now
that.
it's like it's just about like it's just each fan. It's just a standoff between fans of one artist and another, and it's like they're trying to break down who's going to win, but it's really about just who do you mess with more, whose songs do you mess with more, and
Yeah,
that's really what it comes down to. It's not like a real battle in that way.
yeah, and I don't. I mean, yeah, yeah, and it's not, and they're not,
And
and they're not.
but also and also like the one good thing though that has come about is like it does bring about like a mutual appreciation thing, like in certain cases, like with Erykah Badu and Jill Scott, if this was the case, where they were playing each other's records and they were really bigging each other up and showing each other love. But with Gucci and Jeezy, you had Gucci on there talking about how he shot shot the homeboy, talking about we smoking on whatever the dude name is, we smoking on him tonight, and it was some ratchet shit, man. But it was,
Yeah,
but at the end they performed so icy, so they made up.
God, yeah, I don't know. I mean, for Gucci Mane, just to put things in perspective, I didn't appreciate Gucci Mane 15 years ago, and Jeezy ended up being more of a what's it called? It took time for me to appreciate Jeezy. Um, so yeah, I'm like, the best thing that I appreciated about Gucci, I guess, his transformation, and I guess him being the best form of himself, even though he's still a bit ridiculous. It's still being the best form, the best person he could be. And still being him, himself. So so I'm definitely not the person to be able to provide some insight on which one.
Yeah, well, let's bring in Teddy, man. He's joined us and sat for a minute.
Yeah.
What's up, man?
How you doing, brother? Big Ted.
I'm good, man. How's everything?
We good, man. We just talking over. Yeah, we good. We hear you. You hear us?
Okay. Yeah, I got you.
Okay. Yeah, we just talking over some stuff that people are obsessing on online or been obsessing on, like Versus and Jeezy and Gucci and stuff. I don't know if you have an opinion on any of that stuff, but we gonna sort of include you in some of our regular talk.
Okay.
And, but we also gonna talk to you about what you got going on with Nipsey's, of course, as well, and your career and everything, and like I said, you've really been out here for a while, man, just promoting and doing a lot of great things in the entrepreneurial and hospitality space here in Chicago, really setting a lot of ground for Black business owners here in the city. So we glad to have you on just for what you've done and your history and everything, man. You're a big man in the community, not just literally.
Hey, I appreciate that, man. It's been interesting time over the past 3 weeks since we opened Nipsey, and this whole COVID situation has put me in a little different situation than I'm used to being in. So, but overall, it's been good. The support has been there. Definitely done a lot in the community, man. I'm just really, honestly, I'm excited to be on the south side of Chicago, believe it or not. It's really, I feel welcomed. I really feel like I'm at home.
Yeah, definitely. Nipsey's on by 91st and Stony, and new restaurant, and we're gonna get into that soon. But I guess I don't want to derail us where we've been talking about so far. And
okay.
I don't. We sort of was going back and forth on some things, but one thing that I wanted to get into was the Grammy nominations today. That sort of popped up, and it's funny because for me, I'm always split with the Grammys. It's like, on one side of me is the old Public Enemy quote, who gives a fuck about a goddamn Grammy? But two is also like, you have your artists who you always feel sort of proud when an artist who you really dig is bigged up and they got their chance to shine and everything. And that really happened this year with the rap category, surprisingly. You know, you look at the nominations there. That's usually the first thing I look at too. The best rap album, and best rap album you got Alfredo by Freddie Gibbs and Alchemist. You got Nas, King's Disease, the J Electronica, a written testimony of sort of what he did. They only got him listed. They don't have Jay-Z listed, but we know that Jay-Z played a big part in that album. They have Young Boy, D Smoke, Black Habits is the album, I believe, and let me see, I'm missing one. Let me get that up. But Works to 5'9", The Allegory, right. I believe is the name of the album. So yeah, for old heads, so people who've been listening to hip hop for a while. And it sort of goes along with a lot of what we've seen this year. Like a lot of established rappers have gotten off this year, gotten off good, projects. They've made, reestablished themselves in the game, and the Grammys have really honored that. When you look at their best rap album category, and I'm edging towards Nas to win, but I think that Alfredo is a great project as well. I've really learned more about the D Smoke brother today. I've kind of slept on him, but a lot of people who I respect online, they taste and stuff, say that he put together a really good project that deserves the nomination. But overall, I'm really like this category. Usually, I look at the categories like 3 or 4 spots. I'm like, man, why are they honoring this stuff, man? But it seems to be the young boys are feeling that way today, man. The young boys are kind of mad. They don't see Lil Uzi, no Lil Uzi, no Lil. There's no Lils in the category. There's no, Roddy Ricch. I know I had a big project this year. A lot of people wanted to big up, and they thought that he deserved the nomination, but the box and everything. But a lot of these young boys are mad, man. But we sitting pretty right now, sort of us older millennials, man. So I don't know. You guys got any thoughts on that?
I don't really care. I don't care about what the young boys think, because one, I mean, they get enough validation for their art.
You should be able to enjoy this, though. That's what I'm saying. They're not being pandered to in a way. We're finally being pandered to more so than them. I would at least take some joy in that.
Oh yeah, no, I definitely agree with with that sentiment that there's finally a little bit more of the established artists who are in place. I don't necessarily think that some of the projects. I mean, there's some of the projects I like better than others that are on the list. But I guess the point is that some people out there who've been consistently putting work, kind of like to get to your point, Gibbs being one of them. I think that's really key. I mean, I don't think anybody has been as prolific as Gibbs on the list, so I think that's key.
I mean, Nas. I don't think Nas has a Grammy. Yeah, no. and that's why I think this could be like a career achievement thing for him. It's sort of like Denzel getting Training Day when he should have got it from Malcolm. Right. There's a little bit of that feeling for me with that, but I think with the Grammys, there's a whole alternate history of hip hop that they've sort of like a bubble history of hip hop that they sort of produced for themselves, where they made you think only a certain amount of artists have existed or mattered over time, because they got all the nominations and awards, like Jay-Z, Eminem, Lil Wayne, Kanye, whatever. Whereas you have artists like Nas, like Wu-Tang, like Snoop, who is a legitimate crossover artist who have barely gotten love from these awards. So that's why, to me, it's significant that at least you have a Nas in there, you have a Royce the 5'9", who's been in the game for 20 years as well too. Like, and you have a Freddie Gibbs who has made his own career for himself. He's a complete outsider when it comes to this stuff. And to that degree, he put out an album like Bandana a year ago that really should have got love and got nothing. But and this year seems to be more of a makeup thing for him too.
Yeah, no, agreed. Yeah, agreed. Yeah, it's nice. 2020 has just been a year of abnormalities, and this is a positive one. So,
yeah, I want to do a quick quote from my man Finale out of Detroit. Nice MC. I should have got this, but he made a nice quote. He said, you know, the Grammy nominee list might be too real for the industry, but it definitely shows what happens when the hype dies down, tours and press runs stop altogether, and all you can do is listen. So that to that degree, you talking about like a possible that might have been a big impact. The fact that we've gone through this COVID year and there hasn't been the same cycle of press and hype and concerts and stuff that we've seen in other years. It's just been about, you know, getting music week after week and listening to artists old and new, and just feeling them out and feeling out what makes an impact among people, how they get responded to and everything on that base level, you know.
right. No, yeah. I mean, it makes sense. There's no distractions. Like you said, there's no press release, no concerts, nothing to normally do. You know, that would normally influence somebody's position as far as getting a Grammy award. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Ted, what's kept you? Ted, what's kept you? You know, what have you been liking on the hip hop scene lately, man? This year or in general?
Really, man, I really haven't gotten into too much. I've really been knee deep in this restaurant, to be honest with you. So my focus has really been off into that. I'm a Nas fan. I like Nas. You know, so I kind of like more of the old school. So I've been kind of going a little bit backwards, you know, with my music and enjoying little reggae. You know, I went to school down south at Florida A&M University, so I kind of enjoy bass music as well. So, you know, I would probably, you know, listen to old Trick Daddy and stuff like that. You know, just kind of, you know, Luke, people like that. I've been enjoying stuff like that, you know, just kind of, you know, when it's time to just relax a little bit, that's probably my go-to. Then I'm more of a house head too. You know, that was my era where I came up in the house music. So for me, I think, you know, listening to that category would probably be Nas. And, you know, my wife is all into the whole Meg Thee Stallion and Cardi B type scenario. So I get forced to listen to that. You know what I'm saying? I don't quite understand it, but it's kind of like, you know, one of those things. That's, you know, it's a culture thing.
Yeah, Meg got a lot of love today. Actually, Beyonce sort of led all the nominations with 9, but they basically came off a single that she put out called Black Parade, which is actually pretty good, and her Savage remix with Meg Thee Stallion, and that got, I think those got like Record of the Year and nominations and stuff like that. You know, I mean, it's hard to hate on Meg, man, for a number of reasons. You know, she's just been a force out there, and you know, in many different ways. You know.
Yeah, it was interesting. My beverage director, we were having a conversation. He's like, I don't understand it. I was like, what you mean you don't understand? He was like, why is she called a stallion? And I know why she's called a stallion. And he was like, she should be called a mare. I just looked at him like, dude, what are you talking about? Like, you know what I'm saying? You're going too literal with it. Everybody in the whole building was looking at him like, you're going too far with this, man. Like, you trying to really take this on a literal sense.
You want some real zoologist shit.
Right, exactly. That's what I said. Yeah. But, you know, it's interesting. She had an interesting year.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy. What's wild to me with her though is that she just admitted like last week that she's working with Q-Tip, And I already knew, like, this is one thing that sort of a lot of people don't know is that Q-Tip helped found her. And she said that she just put out this album that she just put out this album, this new album that she put out, but that she said that on her next project she's going to go in a different direction and that he's going to be a part of it. So I'm interested to see what that's going to sound like compared to what she's done. But yeah, that's something that jumped out of me right away when I first found out about it. I was like, yeah, I mean, for one, we know Q-Tip got some good taste in women, but he also got good taste in artists.
Yeah.
And so I'm interested to see, I'm interested to hear more about what brought them together and, what's going to make them, what type of music they're going to produce. And, like I say, on a long form, be it a album length or whatever, So it's going to be interesting to see. I gave it to her. She could rap, she could rap and she makes songs that people mess with for real. You can't really knock her for that. But let's move on though. But like I said, right before we one more thing I want to talk about. And I know Dave, did you watch the Chappelle video?
No, I haven't got a chance to check it yet.
Oh man. Yeah, try to do that soon. Ted, I think I saw you had liked it on IG. Did you watch it or did you just like the post?
What video? The video about him saying take down off of Netflix?
Yeah.
Which one?
The one he just put out, yeah.
No, I didn't see the actual video. I heard him talk about it on SNL. I kind of figured he was gonna take that approach to it.
Well, I watched the whole thing today. It's just about 18 minutes. It seems like it's sort of like the end of a stand-up set he did. But he was talking, he put a lot of game out there. And like you say, Ted, essentially, he told a couple stories and mixed it in with his experience. And he talked about his experience negotiating with Comedy Central, which, we all know produced and released Chappelle's show back when it first came out. And, essentially Comedy Central hadn't paid him, when he left the show. They didn't pay him what they had continued to owe him on the contract that he signed. And they didn't pay him for any sort of revenue that developed in, streaming and such like that. What this boils down to is the fact that they've licensed out the show to HBO Max, which has no corporate connection to Comedy Central. They just licensed the show out to them and let them stream it on HBO Max. They licensed it out to Netflix. Now, Netflix has been invested with Chappelle for several years now. They put out several stand-ups. All his recent stuff they put out has been on Netflix and exclusively on Netflix. So he has a deal with Netflix that stands apart from what he did with Comedy Central. And he went to Netflix and told them, like, look, I don't like that you guys are streaming Chappelle's show because Comedy Central and Viacom is continuing to make money off of this show, and they haven't reimbursed me. They haven't made me whole for the work that I did for them. And they agreed to take it down. Like, you can look at it as being, maybe they did it for the purposes of being nice, but it's most likely that they did it to maintain a good relationship with one of their most exclusive, high-profile performers. And either way, it's smart. It's a smart thing that they did. And Chappelle now has he has more leverage now than he did back when he did the SNL show, where he could say, like, and this he expressed this. He expressed this in the video. He's like, look, I'm coming for y'all. And you're going to either stop showing the show or you're going to pay me what you owe me. And he said, he expressed to the audience, he expressed to, I guess he knew he's going to put the video out for everyone to see. He said, if you mess with me at all, if you ever mess with me, don't watch Chappelle's show again. Don't watch it on any of these platforms. And, I'll say what I think about that in a minute, but just to wrap up what he said on the show, he, like I said, he basically he didn't say boycott HBO Max or boycott Comedy Central. He just said boycott me. That's what he said explicitly. Boycott me. Don't watch me. Don't watch me on this show until we come to some sort of agreement and I get what I need. And it was another powerful statement by him. It was, like I said, the stories that he told too was sort of him in a typical comedic yet reverent fashion, where he was talking about his own life, and he made you really feel something that that he once felt in his life, and how significant it was for him. And it was a great set, and to that degree where he says now boycott the show, I'm actually good with that, because I've watched Chappelle's show enough for a lifetime anyway, so I don't really need to watch it anymore. And knowing that Comedy Central has acted the way that is acted towards him, and that he's in this position now where he feels that he has to fight him, I can stand with him on that. It's to me, I think he handled this way in a much better way than someone say Monique did, a few years ago when she was trying to get people to boycott Netflix and everything. Yeah. And it's like that's something you really can't get people to do. You're rolling a boulder uphill trying to do that. And the situation isn't quite the same. It's not exactly the same, but the stances that you make, potentially could make are the same. And Chappelle, because he's much more of a reasonable guy and he knows how people are. He's asking people simply don't watch this show that is exploiting my labor. And I'm with that personally, and I'm going to support him on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh no, Ted.
Let Ted go, Dad.
You go ahead. No, so say go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I definitely support him on it. I think his leverage is. I think he has some of the most successful comedy on Netflix, so they was gonna bow to it. They really didn't have a choice. Yeah. I know he had made mention of that in when he did the SNL. He kind of made a joke out of it, but I don't think you really want. He's pretty clever on how he attacks people. I think that it would have been, because he could have easily. I'm not sure how many deals he got with Netflix. Could have easily took his game over to Prime. He could take it anywhere at this point. So I think he definitely keeps leverage on what he's going to do. I do think he's been more successful after he left and made a stance against, Comedy Central. He's been more successful right now. And I think he did it on his own terms too. So, you have to salute that brother and keeping his legacy intact. I don't think him and Monique are in the same category as far as how they, how they're portrayed, and especially within the African American community. I don't think she handled it the right way. I think a lot of people tried to talk to her and tell her that, and then she put them on blast for trying to tell them. And it's kind of like, wow, And so, I think those are the types of things that, I think he's learned. I think he sits back and, he just watches different things. And I salute his move. I think it's smart.
Yeah, he's as observant as they come. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think also a part of it is that being that it's been disconnected 15 years, I think it's not a hard ask.
Sure.
I think that the people that really he's speaking to is not going to be anyone on this call who was of age to see it 15 years ago. Then it's going to be the generation who wasn't, when it, wasn't of age to watch it then. That's the generation he's speaking. Those are the people he's trying to do the ask. It's on DVD. It's pretty much, there's been enough opportunities to become immersed in it of those 2 seasons that came out, where you don't have to necessarily support it and feel like you're missing anything. Or to watch it on Netflix or HBO Max and feel like you're missing anything. But if you're younger, maybe it's a different, that's the people I think he's speaking to. But yeah, of course, to like Teddy's point, it's leverage. When you have leverage, you determine the conversation. You determine whether, and it's an implied threat. It's saying if you don't take it down, of course, that's definitely going to preclude our relationship, because I know my value proposition will take me elsewhere, and I can get a similar deal elsewhere. So of course, yeah, it's common sense to take down something. It wasn't anything. It wasn't anything new. It wasn't anything, where it or exclusive. So yeah, it didn't. I don't think it hurt Netflix.
It wasn't anything that Netflix spent money to produce. Yeah.
Right.
Invested in it to that degree.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and they have enough content.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
It's a losing Chappelle show.
Definitely.
It's not a big deal.
Definitely.
Right.
To that degree, I wonder if HBO Max. Go ahead, Ted.
No, I was gonna say they definitely have a lot of content, so they're missing anything.
Oh yeah, yeah. And HBO Max does too. So I wonder if they will feel a certain amount of pressure, even though they don't deal with Chappelle directly. Maybe they don't want to feel a certain backlash because HBO Max can't even get on Roku right now. So it's like they don't want to deal with any sort of negative press beyond, not being able to get their stuff on all the streaming platforms that they want. And they want to keep their subscribers and keep people on for some of their bigger events they got coming up. I know they said they're going to have Wonder Woman streaming on there, and the redone Justice League movie and all this stuff. So I wonder if they're gonna feel some pressure. Comedy Central, they're sort of in a different position. They could just stop showing Chappelle whenever they want. They've made their money off of him, but I wonder if they're going to, approach him and deal with him in good faith. I would hope they would, but you never know. Yeah, but yeah, it's interesting because to me, like Dave, we talked about this on earlier episodes, sort of issues that creators have, these new issues that creators have with big conglomerates and companies and stuff like that. We talked about it a lot earlier this year with regarding Joe Budden. And listening to Chappelle in that video made me think a lot about what Joe Budden was expressing in his fights with Spotify earlier this year. And I think it's just like it shows you how much of a Wild West mentality there still is in regards to the entertainment business and platforms like streaming and everything like that. Like, how as an artist, as a provider of programming, how much of a work you got to put in to make yourself feel right when you get your stuff put out there and it makes a lot of money, and you may not be connected to it all the way in the way that you want contractually. You know what I mean? You may be able to get money from a certain revenue stream, but you may be shut out in another revenue stream. It's rough.
Well, that's the whole thing about it. You have to read, through any contractual agreement, you have to read through it all the way and make sure there's no clauses in there that could have the potential to, negatively affect you later down the line. I think there's certain things that probably didn't exist. Well, like Chappelle's show, streaming services didn't exist 15 years ago. So I'm pretty sure when he had his contract with Comedy Central back in 2002, 2003, he couldn't have, had the foresight to see. Yeah.
He addresses that because he addresses the language that these companies make. They use the language of in perpetuity, which means that forever. You get to do whatever you want with this content forever in whatever context that develops going forward. And that's a way that they take advantage of artists like that. And he also mentions too about the situation that he was when he signed the contract. He said, I was 28 years old. I was an expectant father. I was still poor. He was famous at that point, but he wasn't famous, and he didn't have much money. So he just went into this situation where I know I'm gonna have this. I'll have this show. I'm gonna be able to potentially make a breakthrough in my career. I'm gonna sign myself in their hands, and that's what he stepped out on faith in that way, and it led to a lot of good for him, but it's led to a lot of hassles too.
What platform was this video on? Just the one that
IG.
Chappelle was on. IG. It's on his IG.
Yeah. You can watch the whole thing on this IG. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely check it. Definitely try to check it out. He's like I say, he spent a lot of game, and you learn a bit more about his life too, in just that small amount of time. It's very revealing.
Okay. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna check it out.
Yeah, we're gonna go up to about the top of the hour here, and let's take the conversation, center it back to our esteemed guest today, and again, the restaurant is Nipsey's. They say about 91st in Stony Island, in the heart of Black Chicago, South Side. You mentioned when we first mentioned the restaurant earlier about being in that space in that area, and when we think about other places that you engage business in, you've been in some areas where Black folks haven't been the most welcome. So was that main from the start of the conception of Nipsey's, was your idea to bring it back to the South Side to be in a more friendly space for Black entrepreneurs?
Yeah, I wanted to, when I had the Space Drink House, we were down in Greektown. I actually came up with this concept. I wanted to have a neighborhood spot that was on the South Side, a place that, we could be proud of. We didn't have to travel all the way downtown. So I built Nipsey's. It's built like a downtown spot, but it's actually on the South Side. So I actually grew up like a half a block away from Nipsey's, right on 92nd and East End. So, for me, being able to come back home, it was great. And then all the different things that happened down at Drink House and then the other restaurant at Nouveau, it's a very welcoming feeling, not to be judged when you're outside, to be looked at as, part of the community and not just someone that's, in the community. And so that was different for me. And so to reach out to the alderman and get action and be appreciated, the alderman actually came to down to Drink House and met with me and asked me, to come there. So it was very inviting. And so it's really been, it's been a great opportunity. At this point, I always tell people we're in a position where, we're just trying to get through this whole pandemic. After that, the sky's the limit.
Yeah. What's the alderman down there?
Michelle Harris, Alderman Michelle Harris.
Yeah,
Michelle Harris. Okay.
Yep. So it's
shout out to Michelle.
Yeah, and so the different aldermen, the one alderman in where Nouveau was, he was just he was out of control. He was to the point where it was just like he didn't care, man. Like and it was interesting because the timing of it. Right then, it was before everything was happening, so people were looking at things differently. People were saying we were making stuff up and that's not real, and the police don't really do that. And, do you really know what you're doing? And I'm sitting there looking at people, telling them, like, I could tell the difference. We all can tell when you're being treated differently. You know what I'm saying? And I've said that for years, and, this alderman told me, he was like, listen, I got less than 4% Black people in my ward because we were down the Gold Coast, in River North. And he told me that. He was like, I'm okay. I'm going to be okay. And so I don't know if his name is Brendan Riley, but he actually thought about making a run for congressman. And I made it my point to contact his aides and tell him, as soon as you step across Halsted, I promise you, I'm going to be there. I'm going to make sure I campaign and do everything I can to make sure you never get another job. You have to stay the 42nd Ward alderman. That's your lifelong job. You'll never run for citywide, statewide, or anything. Because what he did was, he was just blatant with the way he handled it. It was so many different incidents. And, I often tell people the most violent area when it comes to tavern and bars is actually Wrigleyville. It's a haven for crime and rape and drugs, everything. And so you see an abundance of police officers too in that particular area to protect it. It's impossible. I don't care You can get every single black event in the city of Chicago, and you can put them all together. It will never compare to the level of violence in Wrigleyville, but they'll have you think it was different.
No.
And so these are the types of things that, you know, I was dealing with. And the one good thing that the city of Chicago has, they have this thing called ClearPath that the Chicago Police Department provides you actual data, and you can kind of filter it. You can say, show me all the bars, show me all the liquor license with incidents. And so you can see what the crimes are. And it's not like it's you know, you can make it up. But then, you know, the way they were targeting us, and even at Nouveau, it was, you know, we were talking about Nas. I think Nas was at this event. I'm not sure. But someone had got killed at this place called Stone Lotus, not too far from where Nouveau was. And so the police commander called all the bars and said, don't do any African-American events. And so one of the bar owners actually called me and said, did they call you? And I said, how could he? How could he call me? You know, he never called me telling me don't do African-American events. And so I was like, I tell people this all the time. I'm like, this is how they operate in that area. And now you'll believe it. In 2013, it was kind of like, we don't know if that's real or not, or you just make it up. What was mostly you're playing the black card. That's, you know, that's all out the window these days. You know, you kind of know what goes on, but these are the types of things, being a promoter in the city, we had to deal with. But all these different things that I dealt with in both spots kind of prepared me to be over here in this area. You know, it prepared me to be a better, you know, a better owner, knowing what to deal with, because they don't have spots like this on the South Side. So, you know, the difference between me, you know, you can find me cleaning up the entire block, not just in front of my space, because in downtown, I'm going to be responsible for that entire block. They're not going to, if they find trash somewhere, they're going to say, I brought it. So I make sure we clean up the whole block, not just in front of my own place. But that's just the training that you have after dealing with downtown. So, you know, I think more places should come south. And I've been inviting a lot of people to come, because I feel like Stony Island is the new Black Wall Street. I feel like that's where, you know, everything over there is black owned. And I feel like we have an opportunity to grow there. And it's been, you know, it's been great. The first 3 weeks that we opened has been great.
It's great to hear, man. You know, you know, one thing about you is that, you know, not only do you focus on, you know, providing spaces where black people can be themselves and have fun, but you provide, you know, greater missions to what you do, man. So I definitely honor that, man. And, you know, it's great to hear that you're starting this movement now to get more businesses black owned and such, you know, to invest back in the communities, because it's rough in Chicago, man. It's like you said, you know, people don't believe, for the longest time, people didn't believe how institutional the racism was here and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, that stuff has been revealed more throughout recent years. And I think experiences like yours has helped shine light on some of these unfair practices that people like Brendan Riley and the police, you know, that they put on to people who are just trying to find a space for themselves to make money and do things in the center part of the city. But so often we find ourselves not being welcome. And, you know, like you say, in Wrigleyville, they could have Sodom and Gomorrah pop off every weekend. But if a bottle cracks near a black club in a white area, then they ready to call the SWAT team on us, you know? So, you know, it's not right.
The way that, you know, I kind of look at it too, you got these, and I think you're about to see I think it's going to backfire on him. And the reason I say that, you see a lot of restaurants and different places moving away from downtown. They're moving away from like Rush Street and all these different places. They're starting to move back into their own, like Wicker Park. They're starting to move in Andersonville. You know, they're starting to move back into the community so people don't have to drive that far. If you ever take a drive, you know, recently, if you guys drive up Rush Street, you start seeing all these buildings, they're vacant. You know what I'm saying? So I think this is going to cause a different type of effect where you're going to get more people. You know, a lot of people are pro-black at this point too, which is great. And I think that when we started to realize that we could support ourselves, and again, my space is no different than you can find a space on Rush Street. That's how I built it. I built it specifically so no one could say, hey, well, you're not losing anything because you're coming to the South Side. And so that was the first fight. And then to bring the right culinary team in place, I had to put the right food there. I didn't just want to be the greasy spoon or just, another fried chicken spot. I wanted to make sure that we had good food. I brought in mixologists, people that can make real drinks. This gave us the opportunity to, we're in a space that never had that before. It used to be a Leona's where I'm at right now. And that was
okay, there you go.
Thank you.
So,
I was trying to place the location.
DJs at first.
Yeah, I couldn't remember if it okay, Leona's. Okay.
Right. It used to be a Leona's before me, and so the crazy part about that is when I'm going through for this remodeling, I can't even believe this man was serving food out of this place. It's amazing. And I was offended. I was offended that he was serving food in this dirty place. He had just got his license. I don't know who he paid to get his license, but it was disgusting. And I was just like, he didn't care because he wasn't a part of that community. And he was making a lot of money just being there, doing nothing. And so that was something that was interesting. I do think that it's going to be a big move. And I think we're going to witness it right now because, all the landscaping is right for us to be there, from not just, and I'm not just saying restaurants and bars. I'm saying you can do what you want to do. Stony Island is a thoroughfare through the city of Chicago. If I told you could be on Clark Street up north, people be jumping through hoops to get there. And we have that on the South Side. We just have to recognize it and see for what it is and decide that you want to do it. And like I said, I feel like my past kind of prepared me to be over here and be able to do a lot of different things. So I'm excited to be on the South Side.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you mentioned, it was seen that Nipsey's is going to have a place and is going to be able to, continue to thrive as a business because the need is there in that particular area. But there are some challenges that's going on right now, being that we're in the age of COVID and we're still dealing with these lockdowns and everything. And, I saw on your website, you're doing some care, you're making notice of your carry and go sort of specials and everything right now. It's hard, man. I just wonder if you could speak to that and, simply, like I said, opening a spot in this year, this era, to me seems like a bold move. And, for you, I know you know what you're doing out there. So, I wouldn't bet against you. But, what have the challenges been in, opening this spot and say getting it off the ground at this moment?
Well, what I can tell you, most people in the city would think I'm gonna have a confrontation type relationship with the city of Chicago, and that's not necessarily true. It's very specific and very targeted individuals, So one, this particular project was actually funded by the city of Chicago for the Neighborhood Opportunity Fund. It was a $250,000 grant to help us build this spot out. That's very time sensitive on how that stuff works, which means nobody knew when we got it. Nobody knew we was gonna be in COVID. But at the same time, things needed to move forward on it. In a perfect world, I probably would have said, hey, we'll just wait it out to April. But we didn't get that type of opportunity because things had to move forward with this grant and so on and so on. So it definitely was a challenge, but it was something that we were able to, I felt like we could meet. I knew that, my biggest problem whenever I open up spots usually is controlling how many people come to the spot because I'm used to doing dine-in and, events and, making it so it's very, it's more lively. So with this particular situation, I knew I could get people out and get the word out. So it was just like, I got to put it on my back. I got to really go out and promote this food and get people to come out, try it. And, the first day we got completely destroyed. And when I tell you destroyed, it was 2-hour waits to get food. So, the thing that I also try to tell people is that we most people have never seen the opening of a restaurant. You know, I could take some of the best restaurants like Gibson's. Nobody was around to see when Gibson's first opened. So you don't understand how they had to tweak and do things to become a great restaurant. So I always tell people whenever I open up something, you know, allow us to become a great restaurant. It's going to take a little bit of time to get people working with one another. Then you'll start to be able to see the consistency. And that's kind of where we're at now. The team's been working together for about 3 weeks, and things are really, this past weekend was really great. So we'll start introducing new items now. But as the challenges, you know, with COVID, you know, this thing is just, you know, it's crippled. This particular industry crippled it to the point where, you know, they say almost 85% of these restaurants will not return to the city. So with that being said, it's just one of those things where, you know, me, I'm relying on, you know, 20 plus years of promoting, you know, huge mailing list and just trying to send out to as many people as I can, getting people to support and just, you know, hanging in there. That's what we're doing right now. We're trying to make it to the point where we can get to April and, you know, putting a lot of trust and hope in this vaccine as well. I'm hoping it can be a you know, positive outcome. I'm probably in a constant argument with my general managers because our livelihood depends on this vaccine working the right way. And you have a lot of black people saying they're not going to take it based off of Tuskegee experiment and smallpox with the Indians. And I'm like, you know, I think it's a different time now, you know, and that's just me. I feel like it's a different time. In 1950, you could hide that kind of stuff. You know, I think you're going to get aired out right now. So for me, you know, you probably see me on IG when I get ready to take my vaccine. I'm definitely going to take it. You know, I'm going to encourage people because it won't work. It doesn't work if everybody doesn't get on board. And so I think you got to have people on board in order to, you know, in order to make it. So I feel like all the promoters, the influencers, that's who the government needs to be reaching out to them because that's the only way you're going to end up, you know, doing it. Because some of these places, and I don't know how much you guys follow, but some of these cities ain't never closed. Like Atlanta, they ain't never closed. So they continue to party and do everything. And I'm always looking at them and all, you know, our rates blowing up over here and they still out there partying, popping bottles. So, you know, it's just, we just don't know.
We talk about the Gucci, you talk about the Versus thing. They was in the strip club and they was setting it off right after the Versus and you know, packed wall to wall in the strip club.
Exactly. And that's what I'm saying. So, you know, it's just, you can see why people would say, oh, it's not real. And I get all of that, but clearly it's real. It's just a matter of how we got to use, you know, something else is going on in Atlanta. The water, something. They got something else because they are definitely protected somehow. I don't know how it is, but they parties never stop.
You can feel that's typically the case down there.
Yeah, without doubt.
But
Ted, I had a quick question. When you were planning your business model for this restaurant, it was I'm assuming it was pre-COVID, right? And by the time you got you got the funding from the city, it was after COVID, so you kind of had to go along with the previous plan. You couldn't really pivot.
No, it was actually before COVID. It was in October. So as you start to build stuff out, we were building now, getting everything ready, and then January was the start. So this spot probably would have been finished in May, which would have let us open up in the summer. The shutdown happened, and then they didn't necessarily stop the funding, but they want you to keep moving forward because you kind of signed an agreement with a contractor. So the contractor, they never really actually give you the cash money. It's paid directly through a title company to the contractor. So if the contractor's completing work, they're doing a draw on the money. So then the final draw is required for you to get a license. So once you get your license, then it's kind of like you got to open. You can't just sit there because it's part of the deal is you got to open and be in this community for 3 years. And the way that the Neighborhood Opportunity Fund works is, and this was actually set up by Rahm Emanuel, any building built downtown over 3 stories, they have to give a certain amount of millions of dollars to this fund to help fund business projects on the south side and the west side of Chicago. And I think Mayor Lightfoot has kind of continued it. She made a different name for it. I think it's Southwest by Southwest program.
Right. No, thanks for sharing that. The only reason why I asked is I know a lot of people who are in the food industry right now are just like really focusing on having like drive-throughs and, adding that kind of like to their business plan to kind of, mitigate COVID, but you guys
Yeah.
are already in motion.
Well, we weren't in motion for a drive-through. It was kind of like we had a sit down. You got to remember, 2 days before we were ready to open, that's when they stopped the indoor dining. So we had to pivot right there. That was like a pivot for us. So that's where we pivoted to right now, and we're doing a lot of grab-and-go cocktails as well. So it's kind of like, innovative, and we're about to launch a new program for all the Black mixologists in the city of Chicago as well, where they can do their own craft cocktails at Nipsey's. So we're trying to do a lot of different things, to create, interest in the business as well as revenue.
Nice. Got it.
Yeah. See, you got a creative bent about you, man. So it seems that, going with the name itself, Nipsey's, it evokes a certain thing. If you come from the 90s, I'm gonna put up a link to our girl Jamie Golden, her post she wrote, or a story she wrote on Nipsey's for Block Club Chicago, and she gave a lot of information prior to your opening, and sort of mentioned it being a taste of the 90s. So I want you to speak on that, because for those who remember, Nipsey's was the spot in Martin.
Yep.
And
it's kind of a nod.
I just want you to talk about conceptually doing that. Yeah. So and we all love the 90s stuff nowadays. That sort of sentimentality that is been big nowadays. So go ahead, speak to it.
It was like I said, I looked at it, I wanted the neighborhood spot. So I'm a big fan of Martin, and so I was like, we need a spot we can just come hang out at, and I wanted it to be a place where people, you might have a real estate deal, you can meet up in Nipsey's, you might want to just go down there and talk, you might want to find out about, we might have an issue in the neighborhood, you can come down there and speak on it. We can go down there, and the way that this place is built, we can do seminars down there. So it's definitely a neighborhood spot. It's like a Cheers, and it's for, and I felt like that's what Nipsey's was for them. So the nod to be in the 90s, we definitely want to be able to, that's what we're going to focus at, mostly on the 90s, like 90s themes and music wise, and just really kind of creating that vibe that, was centered around that particular era. So I graduated from FAM in 1993. So for me, I thought it was a good opportunity to name a place and have a neighborhood spot. And that's what it's going to be. It's going to be a neighborhood place where everybody's welcome.
Yeah, definitely. That's again, that's just, I think me and you, we've talked a lot about having more spots like that, on the South Side too. And I know like Dave sort of, the idea you had for a while was one of those adult arcade spots.
Yeah. No. What I was gonna say, Ted, is that it's really, I guess it's very great that you were intentional about for not going where everybody else is going. Even when you keep the South Side as a large geographic place, and I think a lot of people have been going to Hyde Park, have been going to Bronzeville. And you were a lot more intentional by going to Pill Hill. I forget the formal name of the neighborhood. Chatham. Yeah, Chatham, Calumet Heights. Calumet Heights. Thank you.
Right.
Yeah, you were, more intentional about bringing it even further south and going to Calumet Heights. And it's not, a lot of those spots like that are available, which kind of a marriage of, a dining and, club type or just, entertainment type space. So I think that's really important that exists. And unfortunately, Calumet Heights, normally what you hear about is things leaving that pocket, that corridor, like to your point, like Kenwood Liquors or something that left, and there's things that have leaving in that area, but you're adding to that space, which is important. So I think
the one thing I would say too, and I've had good conversations with a lot of people about Kenwood, and people don't realize the tax implement that Kenwood had for that area. And some people say, oh, I'm glad they're gone. And I'm like, you can't say that. That is the biggest tax revenue generator on Stony Island. And so people don't realize the amount of money that these bars and restaurants, when you pack them all together in River North, That's how you end up with a place like Walter Payton High School, you know, and then they build it for, you know, millions, and then they can expand it for another 20 million because of the revenue that's coming in from these tax dollars. And so, you know, whatever the alderman decides to do with that, I'll be talking to Benny's or somebody else to make sure they fill that void right there, because that was a huge tax revenue for the South Side of Chicago. And I think that's the one thing. A lot of times, it's kind of like people associate this. You know, it's kind of like they did this trick with us. They say, "Oh, it's just terrible. You got these liquor stores and all of this, and you just down it. But in the end, liquor stores that are in white communities are help pumping up those areas. They're giving you your tax dollars to increase and do different things with. And I just always want to make sure that that's not what's going on the South, because if we don't know, it always becomes a problem. And that's one of the things, you know, I've often talked about when I was growing up. People say, "Oh man, I don't want to work at McDonald's. That's a terrible place." And I'm like, McDonald's is the one place that if you work there long enough, you can become a millionaire, you know, well before you can go to other spots. And so we did a bad job on telling people, "Oh, don't do this or don't do what needed to happen there," because people didn't want to listen. And you had different places like McDonald's and Chick-fil-A, a lot of different places you can work and make money. And people didn't want to do it because we did a hell of a job on tearing it down. And I think that was a mistake that we had. And I think it was a mistake to take when they said we're going to take all the liquor stores off. Now, were they mismanaged? Possibly. But at the same time, you could fix that. You know, you got Kimbark Liquors in Hyde Park that does an amazing job.
Yeah. I think it's part of it is a respectability thing too, I think. And we get caught up in the way that our neighborhoods look and the way that they're portrayed, where it's like there's a liquor store on every corner and all this stuff like that. But like you say, a business like Kenwood brings in a lot of tax dollars because it's a high revenue place. It brings in a lot of business. So you can't just disregard that. You know, taking that out of the neighborhood, it makes an impact. That you don't want there to just be 12. You don't want there to just be 12 Kenwood liquors along Stony Island. You want there to be a diverse set of businesses up and down that corridor, like Nipsey's, like other places that we could bring into the area. But to have a place like that is meaningful as well. But and it's not something you should just look down upon just because, you know, some people like to drink a little more than others, you know.
Right. But look how many people come into the area too just to go there. But you have to look at it and say, well, was the particular stores mismanaged? Like if you got people just hanging out, if you got people just there, you know, I've seen different places that definitely should be closed. Like I think it's one on 79th and Cottage. It's no question. They should manage that better. There's a better way of doing it. You see what I'm saying? I mean,
we all know.
Yeah. So, and all I'm saying is that's a conversation versus just saying, "Oh, I don't want it to be there." You know, I think you got to have that conversation with people. And if you start to have that conversation, you know, and take it from a person, no, the city officials can close that spot at any given time. Whenever they feel like it, they can close that place. But they don't want to for some reason. So you have to think about that. You know, you have to think about it.
Hasn't been enough of a hassle yet.
I think it has. I mean,
it has, but it hasn't. You know, like I say, if there's that one incident that happened, you know, you can have that one incident that happens there. Like, the rope is longer on 79th and Cottage than it is in River North. Like I said, you could just have a bottle break in River North and it sets off a bunch of mess. You got to have a lot more happen on 79th and Cottage. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, to Teddy's point, it's a big revenue bringer, and I mean, East Chatham needs that probably even more than, you know, where you're at. So take away it's Happy's. I think was a Happy's liquor. To take away Happy's liquor, you take away one of the few, you know, tax, you know, commercial properties that, you know, actually create a lot of, you know, a fair bit of revenue in East Chatham if you took it away, even though it is a nuisance. So,
well, the one thing I would like to see, I would like her to consider, you know, at least allowing African American to have their liquor store there, you know, and that's the one thing that would be a little different if that was something in play for the Kenwood area. Because that guy said he was leaving out of spite. I don't know if you guys know the story behind that. He said he's not coming back because he saw people he saw people on his surveillance camera that's been coming to him all these years, and he felt betrayed because they were breaking in his store, and he's seen them for years shopping with him. So out of spite, he just said he's not coming back. So I know he had you in this particular industry, in the liquor industry, he had to have top insurance. So not only did he recoup all that money, they would have fixed that place up for him.
Yeah, well, I think it's funny that you bring that up. I was recently watching the blackout on the in New York in 1977, and I guess at that time they had some of the store owners. They interviewed some of them, and they interviewed one of them recently, and she was talking about like the betrayal of trust, what happened to her when her and her husband had been in that community. It was a black store owner. Her and her husband had been in Harlem. I think it was Harlem it was in Bronx at the time, and ultimately people that they had relationships with, essentially when the lights went out, they broke and they ransacked the store, and she just said that it was hard for her to reconcile trust with those people. And I think that sometimes that, unfortunately, I don't want to paraphrase Danny Aiello and Do the Right Thing, but it goes beyond the money. I mean, especially once you've invested, once you've built relationships with someone in the community, once you've been there and you've actually, put your sweat equity into building a business there, it's kind of hard for you to get past, okay, the insurance is going to pay me. It's kind of like, it's like owning, I'll say, to put in more something I understand, it's more like owning an apartment building and it catches on fire. If you of course you're going to get paid from insurance, but the collateral damage of life is not going to validate whatever that payment is, especially, or if you have a tenant that loses his life, the whatever money you get paid out, I don't think it's going to be enough to reconcile that loss of life. So I think that there's intrinsic things that we sometimes don't think about past money. And I think even with the looting in this past summer, you're going to see a lot of those businesses not come back, not because they don't get paid out by insurance. It's just because the element of trust is broken, and that I think for some people that's hard to reconcile.
And I think it opens up a new opportunity.
Yeah. But some places, like you mentioned something like Do the Right Thing and Sal's Pizza, like you could argue that a place like that took for granted its role within the African American, within that particular community. Like in that movie, they had the issue of not putting brothers on the wall. I think with a place like Nipsey's, I would imagine that, and that Teddy could set an example for other business owners to want to, do more to impact your community from the moment you open. Be interactive with the community and attend to their needs and wants, in the space that you can provide. Like Teddy said, being a meeting place as well as a gathering place, a place where people can do all sorts of things instead of just go there, be consumers and be out, So, you got to have that sort of relationship with, sometimes even that's not enough, but it helps, to have that sort of relationship, an advanced relationship with your community, and not just be a place where you just sat down there. You're there to make money off people.
Right. That's true.
Great.
Definitely.
But yeah, let's start to wrap up though, man. Before we wrap up completely, I want you to speak to the food there, man, at Nipsey's. I think primarily that's your first foot forward with people, and especially now where we can't necessarily gather at Nipsey's in the way that we want to. Like, what do you think sets Nipsey's apart purely as a restaurant right now? What would you recommend as far as dishes or the stuff that what would you say makes Nipsey's a place that you would want to think about next time you want to order in and dial up your go-to delivery service?
Well, I guess I would start. I think we got an amazing catfish. That's our number one seller. It's just an excellent choice for us. We just came out last week with something called blackened salmon, and it's actually ash onions surrounding it. And I'm not a big fish eater, and I actually like that. It's because it doesn't taste as fishy, so it's really amazing. We have stuffed lobster fritters. That's been a big seller for us as well. We inherited the Leona's pizza oven, so we're popping out these amazing pizzas. We have a pizza called the Stony Island, which comes with caramelized onions, sausage and pepperonis with mozzarella cheese and a little spinach on it. So it's our own creation. The pizzas have been going really well. So we pretty much get whatever you want there. Got chicken dinners. Chicken is great as well. I think from a setting, it kind of sets us apart. We also have fried cauliflower, which I had never tasted before. My chefs put it out, and it's actually pretty good. So that's, we've been getting a lot of vegan lovers off of that. So that would set us apart. And that, like I said, the catfish is our number one choice right now. Everyone's going for that.
Okay, sounds good. I have to admit I haven't checked it out yet, and I'm a little far from there. So I think of the tips sometimes. I use Uber Eats and Postmates a little too much anyway, so I try to keep it local.
Okay.
That have to give them too big of a tip to deliver, but I'm gonna try to make it down. I'm gonna definitely try to make it down that way to Stony pretty soon and check out the food, man, because I definitely want to support you and support your movement, man. But yeah, man. Before we go, man, is there anything else that you want people to know about Nipsey's and anything else you got going on with was it Eat and Drink to your organization and everything?
Right now, man, it's just Nipsey's. It's Nipsey's.com is our website. You can catch me at Teddy Gilmore, pretty much on everything. That's my handle. And I just want people to know we're there. We're gonna push on through this COVID situation. And when the outside opens back up, come check us out. We'll be there.
Okay. And shout out to your wife Felicia too, and how she been doing. I know I've been catching on the jam and everything. Yep. I know she's been doing a lot of work at home throughout this. Has that been how you guys been dealing with that?
She don't like it. She don't like it, but she's been doing it from home, and I think they go back in January, maybe. They're just trying to make sure everybody is safe, and so she just been hanging in there. She's doing a lot of real estate lately, so she's been really getting her real estate game on. I kind of help her a little bit with that as well, so that's been going really good for her. So she's kind of thriving at that.
Okay, shout out Felicia Lawrence and the Jam. We got some friends over there, Brandon, John Hanson over there, thanks again, man. Just really appreciate that, man. For real, wish you the most luck with this, man.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. You guys come on over in the spring, man. Come over and shoot on it. We got a new patio we just built too. Y'all come over there and host the show.
Oh, man. We'll definitely talk about that. See, Dave is in Cali, so he got to make his way back home for that. But
as soon as it gets safe to travel, when we can travel again.
And I got other shows too, so I'll definitely talk to you about that too. I got other shows. So.
All right, man. Y'all take care.
Thank you.
I appreciate you, brother.
All right, man. Peace.
All right.
So yeah, sorry. What was I gonna say? No, that would have been good to have. Man, Marvin would have been able to.
You talking Marvin,
yeah, because like I said, he's in River North, and anyway.
Yeah, Marvin's in. Yeah, let people know about our guy Marvin. He's in the promotions and stuff too.
Oh yeah, so Marvin. Living Up Entertainment. I guess until COVID didn't close it down, he was the mayor of River North. So pretty much every week, this is no hyperbole. Every weekend night, you see a West Indian man in a smoking jacket and jeans hanging out in front of your favorite River North nightclub. He knew all the DJs, all the bouncers, all the bartenders. So yeah, I'm pretty sure he knows Club Nouveau well, and I've been with him to Drink House, which I didn't get a chance to mention. So
yeah. We should have Marvin on just because, just to catch up sometimes.
Oh yeah. No, Marvin's always would be a fun person to have on. And he can kind of share how he's been able to transition from club life into at home life more in this COVID environment. Because I know
he's
that.
definitely a brother. He's definitely a brother. You got to file some sort of order to keep inside.
Well, he. I mean, he has family, so I think that's
right. He has a fam too.
What tethers him, but yeah.
Yeah. Shout out to Marvin, man, for real. But we're gonna wrap up this week, man. Coming up on the holidays, coming up on Thanksgiving. I don't know, y'all got any plans, anything out there?
I was headed to Oakland before the shutdown, or the travel restrictions. So yeah, I think we're going to a friend's house for outside Thanksgiving dinner. But yeah, no,
that's dope. Y'all can have Thanksgiving dinner outside. You never had that type of experience before.
As far as I know, I mean, one of the good things about being here is the weather's is still working out. So it's I think 72 on Thursday, so we good. So
you bastard.
Yeah, I try not to bring it up because that's everybody's question, and I'm like, yeah, that's great.
Well,
but it's also COVID, so it's limited to how much stuff you can do. I mean, I think some people forget that, to your point, like in Atlanta, them not knowing that you're not supposed to be, populating in those spaces. But yeah, I try to minimize my activity outside to, stuff that's, necessary.
Of course.
Yeah.
Comparably, it's not going to be that bad here, though. It's going to be likely in the 50s. But it's like today and tomorrow, there's been a lot of Today has been precipitation all day, like snow and rain.
Tomorrow
there's going to be a little bit of the same. So we'll see. But I'm fine. Just this is what I'm used to, so I'm fine with it.
Yeah, I just think COVID during the winter and cold spots I think it'll be a little tough because you can't. I mean, because you're limited to just being outside, and then I think that's really the challenge, is that when the weather's cold, you're kind of stuck in the house. But hopefully people can make it through. Thank God, to tie it back to Netflix. Thank God for Netflix, right?
Right, exactly. I got plenty of stuff to watch and plenty of stuff to do.
Couldn't imagine COVID hitting 10, 15, 20 years ago when you had network TV and cable, I guess, on a more limited scale.
Well, I'd probably been fine because I'm a TV addict, but
I think there's a lot of people that wouldn't have been fine just based upon, one, TV wasn't so good, especially if you're going back 20, 25, 30 years. TV wasn't good. I mean, the golden era of TV.
There wasn't as many options, definitely, because you didn't. Yeah. But the good thing about now is that you do have the best of that back in the day, as well as the stuff that's out now. So it's more TV to watch than ever before.
Yeah,
for better or worse.
The point is, there are enough distractions. If COVID existed 20, 30 years ago, especially, I think that whatever the murder rate was in Chicago 20 years ago, it probably would have been twice that. You couldn't go outside. If you could go outside.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's one of the misnomers.
That's a wild point, though, that Chappelle actually brought up on SNL about COVID. He mentioned like somebody, a friend of his in England or something, talking about, getting out of COVID and how, how things were better before COVID. But he mentioned there being the rash of shootings in America that there were before COVID, that, mass shootings and everything. Like there being a mass shooting, to paraphrase them, every week or something like that. That is something that this is cut into. Mass violence in America is taking something drastic,
Yeah, no, I mean, I guess that's the one silver lining. But at the same time, some other stuff that's
there are other Well, there are other too, like natural things too, like with less people being out affecting the natural world, and cutting back on carbons and everything.
Not here, not here. I mean, like I said, even if people ain't going
Yeah, I
out
guess
like
in LA, I guess it would be
in
one of
Southern
those areas.
in California, like no, not here. They, with people still got to go. I guess their mindset is a lot of people still have to go to work, and in jobs that are not work from home, scenarios. So the roads are still packed. I mean, gas stations still packed. It's you wouldn't know. Like people say, New York never sleeps. Like Southern California, there's always somebody on the road, especially during the
How is
daytime.
gas out there?
It costs. I mean, I don't know, 3 something. I mean, I go to Costco, so I don't. I mean, I think I'm
Oh, you
probably
got a
not the best
Costco
person.
card?
I'm not the best person to be asking, but yeah, it's in the threes. I don't know. For me, I wish that was the metric. I wish that was a fair metric to gauge the cost of living in California by. Like, because then if it's three, so I tell you it's 350. If I tell you it's 350 or $3 a gallon, then that's something that's relatable. You can say, oh, it's 325 in Chicago, whatever it is, and that's not, and it doesn't skewer a lot of the realities of living in California. And I mean, yeah, I mean, if it was more, to put it more in perspective, gas probably should be in California like $10 a gallon to kind of frame like what the cost of living is. So it's the cost of housing is 2 to 3 times more than it is in Chicago. Also, or $7 a gallon. So the cost of living, like housing, is 2 to 3 times more. So that 1-bedroom apartment that may cost you $900 is going to cost you north of going to cost you $2,000 a month. So to kind of put like a frame of reference.
It's funny too.
Yeah. So I mean,
it's funny though how expensive everything is in an area like that. But if you put gas up to that degree, that'd be a good way to get us to Mad Max Fury Road or something like that, man. That'd be a good way to overturn civilization.
Yeah, I think so. But at the same time, with Mad Max, I think the difference is that, especially 30 years ago, I mean, car MPGs was crap. I'm like, the case in point, like the worst, like if no one had a Prius, no one had a Tesla. That's all you have out here. So I'll say that's all you have out here.
Yeah, that's true. A lot more.
Like more battery, like more hybrid cars. A lot more highway driving, so you don't burn through gas. Like I burn through gas like crazy in Chicago. I get extra 2 miles a gallon here for whatever. I don't know how I frame a reference, but so even if I was paying even if I was paying non-Costco gas, I'd still be winning because my miles per gallon go up because all I do is highway driving. But like Chicago is just stop and go, stop and go, stop and go, stop and go, stop and go. So yeah, your gas mileage is gonna be crap. So I think that's a part of something that's kind of or it's kind of like hard to compare. But I mean, like just for but if you want to like compare like cost of living, gas is not the metric. I think it's like how much is rent probably would be the metric.
Sure, yeah. I'm just saying that if I'm just saying as far as disrupting things, like put gas up to that degree would like
like if gas is $7 a gallon. I remember, was it like close to 10 years ago? I think gas was at its peak cost, and I remember.
Yeah, it was like around 5. Then.
5, right? It was around 5, and yeah, I remember just how painful it was. And I think at that time I had the genius idea of having a 6-liter sports car that was getting 12, 13 miles to the gallon. So I just remember how painful that was. Once, 1.5 times a week. So yeah, I think that probably, civilization, civilization still, made it through, even when gas was that high. So I think $7 probably, $7 would probably make some people mad. I mean, it probably also keep a lot of people off the road though. If you want to cut into COVID,
we probably need we probably need that. Yeah.
You want to cut into COVID, raise gas to $7. Like here, like a
Yeah.
lot of people are. They would be very intentional, but like I'm not going anywhere but to work and back. And I mean, you know, like there
Yeah,
would be
I saw
no.
a good video. No, yeah, but yeah, I saw a good video. I think Vox produced it. That's it mentioned it made mention of how the public transit systems are how they were laid out in the major cities in America, and how most of them aren't maxing out at all the ability, people's ability to get around and everything. Stuff that I know you're familiar with, but it really lays out in a historical way and in a sensical way how lax so many areas are in the coverage, the way that they cover. Like they started with Chicago, and they mentioned a lady who was in like what's that? Sort of the northwest side, and she was getting
Jefferson
to
Park,
sort of like that.
Nash.
Yeah, yeah, so something like that. And like she was, having to get to downtown and having to drive. But it was talking about how I'm gonna try to look that up and send it to you. But it was talking about how inconvenient she was and how she would like to use the blue line. She was a little bit more. She was a little bit less resourceful than like I would have been, because I was able to tell like a path that she could take. But that's just me.
They don't ever have the people with the most sense on TV. I mean, So that's definitely another show. But anywho.
Yeah, but she had a good point. She had a good point though overall, and I was thinking too, like, well, if you're that inconvenienced on that side of town, think about what it is on the southwest side of town, on the far south side.
The far south,
it's like,
the far south side,
yeah. Yeah, but it's like, when you look at cities, even a good city like Chicago, there's so much of the city that isn't covered by public transportation, by late night buses and by trains, by the L system. And in other areas, it went over other areas like Charlotte and some other cities that are really inconvenienced in the way that they're covered. And the overall statement it was making was that we, like in other areas of the world, they are much better at this and utilizing public transportation and allowing people to get around in every area of their city, even suburban areas from the city and vice versa, and making it more convenient for people and allowing people to have that option so where they don't have to drive everywhere and contribute to global warming and everything, by putting carbon to the air by driving.
That's by design, and two,
they went into that. Yeah, they went into that.
And two, ironically enough, with COVID, it's probably a guy saying that they haven't built out a lot of public trans more now, because I don't know about like bus systems and things like that, but like the commuter rail is getting like slaughtered. I used to work for Metro, and this is like the first time in 35 years that they're having to lay people off. So I think that it's a double-edged sword. Like I know the Red Line project at home, I'm pretty sure they've probably stopped, building that out, and they were about 50 years too late to get it started in the first place.
They lucky they got 95th Street redone before all this happened.
Right.
But yeah, all that stuff building out to 130th and all, that's probably going to be years. There's going to be years added to that project.
Which it was 50 years too late in the first place, but that's another convo. But please send that to me. I'll try
to find that.
Yeah, but I'm looking forward to next week. What we get have going next week. Are we doing the Scorsese, or are we doing something else?
Yeah, we could definitely talk about the Scorsese movies. Scorsese, I came across a list from a writer. I don't recognize the writer, but they put together a list of best to worst all of Scorsese's 25 movies, and he's working on his 26 now. And this is interesting this year, actually, because a lot of his movies have anniversaries this year. and I wanted to, different anniversaries. I want to bring up at certain points, like Goodfellas Anniversaries this year, 30-year anniversary, Casino 25th, Raging Bull 40th. Like, and I think that After Hours movie, which is one I haven't seen, I'm gonna try to see it soon, is that's a 35th year anniversary this year, 85. So yeah, he's got a lot of anniversaries this year, so it's a good time to think about his oeuvre, as they say. And I know that's a guy that me and you have talked about a lot. And probably second to Spike Lee is probably the director that we both share the most admiration for.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about that next week.
Yeah,
but we'll see about having another guest next week as well.
Oh yeah, let me know.
We'll see. But yeah, man, thanks. The babies didn't charge in on you this week, man.
Yeah,
we heard a little bit of noise from them.
Yeah, they're waiting for me.
But I ain't gonna keep them waiting too much longer, man. Give them my best and have a happy Thanksgiving, brother.
Likewise, you too.
All right, man. See you later.
All right, peace.
And we'll see y'all next week, man, with more In the Building. And yeah, that's it. Keep checking us out. WeAreRigorRadio.com, War on Anchor. Everything, I got everything out there for you. Keep on keeping on, and all y'all enjoy your holiday as well.
Yep. All right.